Please listen carefully.
Welcome back to the Focus Target Podcast. This is your host, Captain Smiley, captaining the good ship Focus Target Podcast with my co-hosts, my first mates, if you will, Van and Shy. Yar, mateys.
What it do, nephew?
I have that title first made in Lost Ark, actually.
Yeah, I saw that you can get it. I don't know if I have it or not. I think I was looking at it yesterday. I don't think I have it.
Right.
I think I was looking at it. So it's weird that you bring that up, but I guess I brought it up in a way. Anyway, yes, welcome back to not the Lost Ark podcast, although there may be some Lost Ark discussion here before
Gonna be
we're
the
done.
Lost Ark podcast.
Probably it will. Today we're going to talk about the disc and the drive. We're going to talk about kind of stuff we're playing, what we're doing, things that are going on, and so that's going to be the primary topic of our podcast. However, we have a question of the day. Our question of the day today is, last week we kind of did our NHL end of season wrap up. And so just, not necessarily limiting this to hockey, but in any sport, do you guys get player jerseys? Do you get jerseys for sports teams? And if you do, which player's jersey would you like to get next?
What if you don't?
Then that would be the answer to the question. So let's start with you, Van. Do you wear jerseys?
I thought the question was,
or maybe
what
not
player
wear 'em.
jersey are you gonna get?
Yes.
Not like,
yeah.
do you get them? And if you don't, don't answer the question.
I'm like kind of like no. I mean, he's kind of doing a warm up part of it. Like he's cute. He's kind of like
because I mean
he's
yeah.
prepping.
I mean, if you're not ever gonna get a jersey, then that's I'm not trying to because some people don't like jerseys. Some people don't wear them or collect them or don't want to have them. They think they're expensive and not worth getting. And I think that's fair.
They are super expensive.
They're very expensive, and
They're
you don't
so
really
expensive.
have a lot of occasions to wear them. Honestly, I only wear jerseys basically to games or maybe to if I was going out to a bar to watch the game or over to a party or something. But I don't wear them
like a playoff
around town.
Right.
Yeah. So I get that some people just don't spend that kind of money on that kind of stuff. And I think that's a fair answer. So that's why I kind of wanted to give you an out if that's how you feel about it.
Yeah. I buy jerseys.
Okay.
Typically, I don't get names on my jerseys because the names change and whatnot. Yeah. So typically I'll get team, but I have had named jerseys or apparel before, like Kershaw t-shirts and stuff like that, that you rock and wear. But yeah, so typically my jerseys, I think the last Dodger jersey we got, my mom had custom embroidered my last name onto the back of the jersey and asked me what my lucky number was, which was pretty freaking cool. So then I had a quote unquote team jersey, but with my name and my number on there. So that was a lot of fun. But in this case, and in the spirit of the question, I would absolutely get and will absolutely get a Vegas Golden Knights jersey.
So if I could pick, can I try? Can we try? Should we try to guess who you if you were to get a player? Who do you think it would be? Do you want to try and guess?
Should we put a wager on? No. It's gonna get too intense.
No more wagers for me.
All right. So if it's Vegas, if it's Vegas Golden Knights,
I'll tell you if they at least make the top three of my choices.
I would say Mark Stone would be my guess.
That was gonna be my guess, but if I had to do something different for the sake of competition, I'll say Pacioretty.
Oh man.
Okay, so that's 1 and 2.
Okay,
that's pretty dang good.
But in which order?
So it feels like a cop out to get Mark Stone, but
what is that?
He's just the best player, basically.
One of the best players, right? Pacioretty's one of the highest scorer. Well, except for last season.
You get the captain, you get a jersey that's got a C on it, which is a bonus. I don't know.
And we just talked about how important it is to be the captain too, with Captain Smiley. So yeah. But
yeah, Pacioretty the first mate of the team? Is that
Captain America? Am I right?
First mate, Pacioretty.
FM.
That's what the A stands for. The A is from 8. Anyway,
so, let's see here. How long is Pacioretty's contract for?
So that's a good thing. It's a good thing to check for 2 reasons, right? Because it's do you want somebody who you know is going to be on the team for a long time? But also, if somebody's ending soon, do you want to get him while you have a chance?
So get this, he's under free agency 23-24, right? So we got him for another year. Yeah, I think that's correct. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then Stone is actually free agency after 26-27. So if there's that kicker man, Stone's on the team for a long time. No wonder they made him captain. I think it's a toss-up between these two. Right now, I would lean Stone. But you know what? When I'm ready to pull that trigger, I honestly don't know if I'm going to go Pacioretty or Stone. So that's a tough one. Yeah.
So
who's number 3?
We'll consider this bet unresolved then. Go ahead.
What was that?
I said
your number 3 choice.
We'll consider this bet unresolved until Van actually buys the jersey.
I like it. Okay. And then I will announce it and I will wear it on the podcast for our listeners to find out which one we actually got.
That's perfect. Yeah, that was a great reveal. You'd be like, whoa, turn around, show the back. Anyway, I do want
the number 3 was going to be Shea Theodore.
Oh, okay. Get some love to the
defense. Just because an outstanding, I talked about on the last podcast, just how well he was in the big juggernaut's absences and stuff. And not that he's a second-rate player by any stretch of the imagination, but he really stepped up, and I became a Theodore fan last season a lot. So it sucks to say last season just because they're not in the playoffs too. But there's since we're not going to get into it, I don't know if you guys saw the big news with Golden Knights yesterday.
Yeah, DeBoer's gone, which Van would have kept him. You said
we should mention it because I probably put the nail in the coffin by saying we should absolutely keep him. And then he goes.
Well, I think it was really interesting the day they announced it. So the day they announced that he was fired, I mean, it was just kind of a random day a couple weeks after the season. It was the day that the Islanders let Barry Trotz go. And so there's a lot of speculation that the reason they wanted to let DeBoer go was so that they could try to get somebody either there's a number of big name coaches out there right now, but I think Barry Trotz is a guy that's going to be very highly in demand for a number of teams.
Because he's had a significant winning record across his whole the body of his career. Like, why would you? Everything I've seen where people talk about that firing, it's the explanation is always it's just Lou Lamoriello. It's just the way this GM operates. Like, or is that the owner, the GM?
No, he's the GM. Lou Lamoriello.
Just it doesn't make sense, but he just does what he does. Like,
you know what? I would not be happy if the Avs got Barry Trotz just because I love what Jared Bender's done so much, and I think he's worthy. And he's built this team; he deserves a chance to take it. But any team, I am scared that the Golden Knights are going to get Barry Trotz because I don't want to see that. I don't want to compete against that. I'd like him to stay in the Eastern Conference. I think that'd be fantastic for the Avalanche. Okay, so we'll see if it's Stone or Pacioretty or somebody else.
Right now, if we had to pick, it's Stone. Smiley's the winner on that. Our little game that we did, our mini game here.
I think actually it was Shy.
Well, just because I went first, though. We were both going to say Stone. We're all winners. I mean, we're the participation trophies.
Oh, look at this.
I got some orange slices. I'll hand them out after the show. All right, Shy, what about you? I know you got some choices to make in Seattle.
So my long, convoluted answer is I've never bought a jersey before.
Okay.
And I think I've said this. I was telling this to someone. I think I was saying this to my parents, actually. I just saw them the other day. But I've really realized in the last year how much I really have only liked sports in the past because of Seattle and not really the sports themselves. I've watched them. I've enjoyed the games. I've enjoyed football. I've enjoyed watching the Sonics back in the day. Loyalty. But it was very much a Seattle loyalty and just a way to kind of stay engaged with the city. But I really like hockey. It's awesome. It's very interesting. Getting into the Kraken is really I just follow a lot of stuff in the sport, and I've really gotten into I don't know. So all that being said, I've never bought a jersey before for any other sport, but I do intend to buy a jersey for hockey for the Kraken. Now the problem for me specifically is, Van, you were looking up term lengths. There's tons of question marks with the Kraken because it's just a bunch of people they just picked up from an expansion draft. Yeah. So far, the only person they have a commitment from, the long term, is Jared Mccann, who they just re-signed a 5-year deal, who was our top scorer this year. But I don't know. I guess I didn't really get connected to him from just his interviews or just watching him play. I didn't really get a sense of it. So he's not in my top 3. So for me, a big part is going to be probably watching at least I probably will not buy a jersey till probably after the halfway point of next season. And maybe it'll even be near Christmas or in January or whatever when I'll pull the trigger. But I really want to see how the season starts. And maybe we'll have a better idea over the off season. If they, I don't know, we'll see. But so far my top 3 would be, and I don't know if any of these are really going to, you guys might know a couple of these guys.
You going to let us guess?
Oh yeah. Do you guys want to? All right. That would make sense. But yes.
You want to go first, Van?
Schwartz.
Jaden Schwartz?
Jaden Schwartz?
Yes.
All right.
I'd say Matt. Matt, is it Bernier?
Matt Beniers.
Damon?
Beniers. Yeah,
Beniers.
that's who I would guess.
All right.
Because I know there's a lot of hope
Well,
that he's going to be around.
Grubauer.
Ruby.
All right.
Ruby.
So, all right. That's
may
a
not
better
do it
guess. That's a
Steve
better
next
guess
year.
than Schwartz. But so when the season
I like
started,
him. I'm surprised.
all right. Well, the problem with Schwartz is that he just didn't play. He had injuries all season.
He's
Like he
always been his problem.
I'm looking at their
Everywhere
stats
he's
right
gone.
now. Yeah, he only played 37 games in the season.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's
and
how it
so,
was
like-
in St. Louis too. He was so good when he was in, but
Yeah.
wasn't
So
in.
so we just don't know. Like I don't know if he stays with the team. We'll see like what he looks like when he's healthy. But we just didn't see a lot of him this year. So and I think that kind of all right. So Smiley, Matty Beniers is in the top 3. He's probably 3 just because he is so new, and he does like he has 2 years left on his entry level contract. I don't know if he can be traded during the entry. I don't know exactly the rules behind entry level contracts.
Doesn't happen very often.
But
he
like
can be
so
traded, but
he's got at least 2 more years with the team, and if he continues to grow and improve on what he started doing, like I imagine he's going to be with the team for a while. So he'd be number 3. Number 2 would probably be Yanni Gourde. So like 1 and 2 are pretty close. I really like what I saw Yanni Gourde. He seems like he's got a great attitude. He seems like someone you can really cheer for.
I should have guessed that because you've been very high on him all
Yeah,
year.
we've talked a lot about him. Yeah. So I think.
Know him better.
All right, and number 1, I think I didn't expect either of you guys to get this, and I don't know if you guys are even going to know the name at all. But Carson Soucy actually is would be my number 1, and he was. This is weird. So I think he's had his best year with the Kraken, which I think happens for a lot of players who get picked up in expansion drafts. But he has the highest plus minus of any player on the Kraken at +7, which I mean, I know a lot of people don't like plus minus, and that's not that impressive. I don't think +7, but I mean, it just shows like he's been.
So he did what he was expected to do.
When he's on the ice, he makes a difference. I think it's kind of the idea of what the plus minus is, and he had 10 goals this year as a defenseman, which I don't think he's ever had before. And for someone that I feel a lot of people don't give credit for. Like when I did watch Kraken games, you just heard I feel like Soucy's name a lot, and like when I've seen him in interviews, I've just liked how he's like dealt with the press, and it just feels like a jersey that not like all Kraken fans would buy either. Like it'd be like picking someone who I think is like so really with Soucy and Gourde, it's really just seeing like are the Kraken going to commit to them. I would need to look up their term lengths because I don't even know when they would need to commit to them. Because there may be a few more years before that even has to happen. But yeah, those would be my top 3.
For what it's worth, only playing 37 games is not a deal breaker because that's all Mark Stone played last year.
Oh man,
That's funny.
And Pacioretty only 39. So
I'm really torn by your answer, Shai, because as I'll mention in a moment, I love going for like the guys who are a little bit less heralded, right? Like I like, and this is not going to necessarily be reflected in. Well, we'll get to it, but I think that's great. But I not a huge fan of Soucy because he was a longtime Minnesota Wild player.
Yeah, is that where we got him from, or did we get him from the?
I'm not sure.
We did, right? Because I think we got. Yeah, I think we got him from the Wild. Yeah,
I don't know if he had a stop in between, but
No.
he was a Wild player for a number of years. So
he came directly from the
hard to. I mean, I've forgiven. What's his name? Who we got from the Wild in exchange for Tyson Jost. So I guess I can get over it. But
You've forgiven him. You just don't know his name. You're not quite there yet. You're not on a first name basis with him yet.
I'm just I guess not. I guess I'm blanking on it for some reason because I'm a moron. But anyway, we've spent a lot of time on this segment, so I'll try to go quick. I actually have a number of jerseys. My first jersey was.
Wait, no. We get to guess. You don't get to just say what it is.
I'm not
he's
telling
giving
you
his background.
Okay,
He's giving his
okay.
background.
This is the background still. No. Still the background. It's all right. I wouldn't do you guys like that. Come on, guessing is the most fun part. Otherwise, why do you care, right? If there's not some level of competition.
I still don't care.
Well, that's fair. The first jersey I got was Patrick Waugh, but that was a gift to me. But I still loved it. I still have it. It's like tiny. I can't even fit into it anymore.
Does he have any relations to Nick?
No, I don't believe so. And then the next jersey I got, I really wanted a Joe Sakic jersey before he retired, so I was able to get one of those. And then the 2 jerseys I've purchased with my own money. Well, I think I might have bought this. I think I asked for the Sakic one. Still, I think I was young enough that I still got that as a gift. But the ones I bought with my own money were P.A. Parento, who was with the Avs for a couple of years during kind of their dark age where they didn't make the playoffs forever. But I thought he was really good and really Really underrated. I liked what he brought. And then of course I got Jerome McGinley when he was with the Avalanche. I love Jerome McGinley. He was awesome. I was lucky enough to be live at Pepsi Center at the time for his 600th goal, and I was like right in front of it too. Like I was in lower bowl seats, and like it happened right in front of me. So, and I was wearing his jersey, and I thought that was freaking awesome. So I haven't gotten a jersey since then. I've considered quite a few, but I mean that was a number of years ago. Um, and so I've been really thinking long and hard about who I want to do. As I kind of hinted a little bit, so maybe this will help guide your guys' guesses. I do like to give some due to the guys who I feel like maybe aren't as heralded as some of the others. Like everybody
Like
in the
Shea Theodores. Yeah.
yeah, that's a great Shea Theodore is the exact type of person I would be looking at. Because like you go to the place and like everybody's got a McKinnon jersey, everyone's got a Landeskog jersey, like they're everywhere, right? Like I like to give some love to, and kind of shows it's like, hey, I really like know this team, right? Like I'm not just a guy who turns it on, once every couple months and is like, oh yeah, McKinnon, I know him. Right, like I know everybody on the roster,
I know
even the
a
people
name.
whose names, even the names I can't that I can't remember right now because I'm a moron. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate them. Anyway, so go ahead. Let's hear. What do you guys think?
Well, I
I
thought it
don't.
was going to be between Kadri,
Oh,
and I
Kadri.
thought you already had a McKinnon one, but
I
I thought it
don't.
was
No.
going to be between who was it? Between
I don't.
Kadri.
I don't have a jersey
Right,
for
no?
anybody on the team currently. So
Oh, interesting. Okay, well then I'm going to go with Darren Helm.
Darren Helm. Okay. Uh, Shy. What do you think? Oh, Shy's laughing. I think you know. I think I know why Shy's
I
laughing.
don't even know who Darren Helm is.
I don't either.
You
I
don't?
just looked at the
Oh,
roster, and I was trying to pick up somebody I'm not familiar with.
My guess is Devon Taves. Devon Taves.
all right. So, uh, Van,
Makar.
your first guess of Kadri was actually a good one. That's actually probably my number 3. That's like borderline number 3. But it's probably his Kadri's number 3. Darren Helm. Listen, I've liked Darren Helm. All right, I think he's actually been really great this year. I like what he's brought. But like he spent 13 years as a Detroit Red Wing. He was on the Red Wings last Cup team, and like I would not get a Helm jersey. Just like
Rantanen.
I can forgive him, but I
You
can't forget.
acknowledged your guess.
Shy got my number 2, so Shy wins in this case. That is Devon Taves. I love Devon Taves. He's like he's very close to my number 1. Honorable mention would probably be Nishushkin, who Sarah really likes, especially, and I think he's really underrated too.
And his first name is Valerie.
Valerie Nishushkin, Chooch, as they call him, or Nishushki. Yeah, the choo-choo train. They call him the choo-choo train.
Pardon,
because
awesome.
he like charges down the ice like a runaway train. Like it's awesome. He's an awesome player.
Oh man.
And Sarah calls him Nishushki, because I don't know why, because that's what she does, and I think that's cute too. But ultimately, the pick I would do is Sam Gerard. Partially because my son was a little bit not named after him, but it was one of the many great Sams that we knew when we picked that name.
I like it.
And I think Sam Gerard is really hated on by a subset of the Avalanche fandom, especially people who don't really realize the value he brings because he's small and people think he's too small to be a defenseman. He gets pushed around and there's definitely a size bias against him, and I think that's bullshit because he moves the puck as well as just about anybody on the team. Like the only reason I have to say that is because we have Cale Makar and Devon Taves, who are like 2 of the top 5 defensemen in the league. Like Sam Gerard could be a top pairing defenseman on a lot of teams in the league, and almost everybody would be happy to have him. And there's so many people who are like, trade him. He sucks. He's too small. He gets pushed around. He's no good. And I gotta ride for my boy Sammy G. So that's gonna be my next jersey. I will have one of those at some point in the near future.
Smiley.
Yeah.
Devon Taves is like what Yanni Gord is for me. That's what Devon Taves is for you. Because I feel like whenever we talk hockey, you're always talking about Taves. That's what included me in. But.
Well, and he's so amazing, and like because of Cale Makar, he gets a little bit overshadowed because Cale Makar is so incredible.
I mean, he has a plus 52 plus minus according to he's the highest plus minus of Colorado according to NHL.com stats.
I really think that Cale Makar is maybe the best player on the team. It's either him or McCann. I don't think there's much argument. But I think Devon Taves is a better defenseman. I think Makar is just like a superstar. I would get a Makar jersey too. I wouldn't be sad about them. I love Cale Makar. Like that guy is crazy. And I was lucky enough to be there for his first ever NHL goal, which I thought was really cool. So I've been to some memorable games. All right. Well, we'll have some contact information at the end of the show. If you, our viewers, would like to tell us what jersey would you get if you get a jersey, and do you like jerseys or anything? We'd love to hear from you about that. So, okay, so that was a long question of the day. We really,
It's
we really
hockey. Like
it
you
is
should have
hockey.
known.
I should have known. So let's get into our disc in the drive. So, what have you guys been doing? What have you guys been playing? What's on the docket?
Did you have a short little spiel
No,
you had to do before?
I was,
Alright.
last time I didn't get to talk about the Avs, but we spent enough time on hockey. Round 2 starts tonight. I'm excited. We're moving on to St. Louis.
Do a minute. You get a minute. I'll time you.
It just doesn't.
He's the producer, and he says you have a minute, so you got a minute.
All right.
Well, now 55 seconds.
Okay, it's running around. Here's why it doesn't matter. It's because before last time we did a podcast, we were at the beginning of the series. No games have been played. There's a bunch of nonsense that the Nashville commentators were talking a lot of smack about the Avalanche because we played them like 2 games before the end of the season, and the Avs were pretty much checked out and didn't care. But like the announcers were like, "Oh, Avalanche don't have an answer for their physicality. They're going to really be a handful in the playoffs, and I think this is going to be an interesting series." And it was like these people are freaking morons. Like, I'm sorry. Like, can you not tell that like they're resting half their team? Like, they don't care about this game. Like, they're getting pushed around because they're not going to waste energy hitting you in a meaningless game. And so I was like, I just wanted to put that on the record, like before the series, that like the Avs are going to beat the shit out of, like, maybe not win, like, but they were going to like be very physical. And then they were. But now it sounds like, oh yeah, we're 2 weeks past that, so of course it's easy to look back and say that, but I was going to be on the record about that because that was ridiculous. But yeah,
good stuff. Good stuff. On the record with Smiley. That should be a normal
on the record
segment. I like that.
We should give Smiley a minute to rant. Smiley's little ranting
Smiley,
corner.
the captain's corner for ranting. Captain's ranting corner. I like it.
Like the poop deck.
I could find
1 minute on the poop deck.
Smiley's poop deck. I like that.
There it is.
Yeah, I could find something to rant about. We used to do a rap. Now we do a rant. Cool.
I like it.
All right. Let's see. Van, talk to us about DayZ.
I didn't even tell you what game I was playing.
I know you're playing DayZ. Tell us. I want to hear about DayZ. I heard stories. I was promised.
Oh man,
it's kind of weird. Stories.
It's kind of weird. I haven't played DayZ in a while, in like 3 days, which is a while for me because I was considering I was playing every single day. So just for those who don't know, I don't know how you can't know because I'm pretty sure we talked about DayZ a million times on this podcast.
Well, maybe they're a new viewer.
It's a survival. Did you say maybe they're a new viewer?
Yeah, maybe this is their first time.
It sounds singular, but there's no other way to say it. But it was still funny.
Yeah.
maybe there's a new viewer.
Yeah, maybe this is somebody's first time here.
So
it started at episode 114 for some reason. I don't know why.
I do that with podcasts.
I saw it on Twitch. Saw it on Twitch and jumped in the channel and
could happen.
All right, so DayZ is a survival horror game. I don't want to say it's one of the first in the genre because the genre's been around for a long time, but it was certainly one of the first to take it into I don't even know how to say this, into not necessarily an RPG, but
I would say it's the first like really successful MMO.
Yeah,
horror game because
persistent online.
Yeah,
right?
persistent online. Yeah, so the way it works is you're thrown onto a beach with literally nothing except maybe like a soda can and a flashlight or something. And there's no storyline to follow. There's no nothing. It is as gritty of a survival game as it can be. And due to intuition, you start to explore. You find out there's zombies in the world that are very dangerous that can kill you. The game is permadeath, so in the event that you die, you literally lose everything. There's no levels to game. So, and it started as a mod off of the Arma 2 engine, and it grew legs, became extremely popular, and then Bohemia purchased the rights to the game, developed their own game, which still is somehow has a cult following that is still successful, albeit I don't think the game is that great. Maybe it's just because I'm, used to the original mod. But anyway, so the survival horror game, played it for a while. stepped away from it, came back to it 3 years later, 4 years later, or for some reason just got absolutely hooked again. And I'm on a new server, which is Arma 3 Survival, and a shout out to the developer named Hungry. He's basically wrote a lot of the code. Of course, he borrowed a lot of the code from other people, but he created his own server. So he was able to add his own things into the server, his own building structures, mechanics. He's also a software coder. So he's able to code his own stuff into the server as well. So it's its own unique experience.
Technically, this isn't DayZ anymore because he doesn't have the rights to that. Is that true? Like,
yeah, I guess technically it would not be DayZ specifically anymore, but it is an Arma 2, Arma 3 Survival mod, which is 95% based off of the original DayZ mod. Nice. So with all that out of the way, we're going to call it, just for simplicity's sake, we'll call it DayZ, even though it's not the standalone game that people know as DayZ, but it is the mod. So we're playing this Arma 3 Survival by Hungry, and it's just absolutely incredible reliving a lot of the moments in the server, because this server is populated by 20 to 30 people often. It's amazing how often you come around people, because one of the first impressions of the game was just how massive it is. And there's no easy transportation to survival, so you're on foot. But it will literally take you probably 3 hours to sprint full blown from one side of the map to the opposite side of the map. Now you can imagine that in a squared ratio, how massive this map of Chernarus is that they play on. And it's a fictitious Russian land. So 30 people in that much space, you think that you wouldn't come across each other, but you come across each other frequently. So because it's a dedicated server, and it's a specific dedicated server, we're not just jumping into random servers like you would in like a Battlefield game, where we belong to a server more like you would in an MMO, right? So you pick the world that you want to log into. You start to see familiar names. Well, as you start to see familiar names in this version, I think this is what got me hooked, is that it became more of a reputation and politics game, and it got way out of control. So all of a sudden, the guy I play with, Jiu-Jitsu, or Mark, and I became like this huge threat on the server. And it's not... So half the server is shoot on sight and the other half is really friendly. Well, Mark and I were like overly aggressive on this server as far as like raiding people's buildings, their bases, shoot on sight, all this stuff. And we started to garner this reputation. It just, how political it got, I can't even tell you in words. It was just out of control. The amount of people who would bring us gifts, like we're the mafia, like in gunpowder and bombs and things, so that we would get their protection. Yes, number one, it was don't raid us. And I'm going to tell you where our base is, and here's the gifts. And number two, I want your protection. And can I tell people that if you're going to kill me, these two people are going to hunt you down, and they are vicious, and they will kill you. They will get you. So
yeah, you're basically the mafia. That's the thing.
We had like, out of the whole server, we became like this crazy notorious duo where people would be like, oh crap, Smoke and Jiu-Jitsu are on, and like you would see people log off just because we're on, because they didn't want to get killed on site.
Oh my god.
Or you would see people start banding together. So it was hilarious, because as the threat, like everybody wants to take on the biggest fish. So then we had like half the server wanted our protection, the other half of the server wanted nothing more than to just kill us to prove that we're nothing and they could take us out and all that stuff. So it got out of control. There were allegations of hacking and like a ton of emotion and drama, because as I mentioned, it's survival and it's permadeath. So especially if you're base building, there are a lot of hours that go into developing your character, getting the right weapon. Specific items can only be found under specific situations, while either fighting an extremely difficult AI, which would be comparable to a boss fight, or killing other people who have fought that AI and looted their body and whatnot. So tensions flared, and I was getting like messages on the side in Discord, like DMs from everybody. And like at a week ago or something like that, I just had to call it off and say, guys, I can't do this anymore. Like it's a game. We were playing the game the way we thought we wanted to play the game. Apparently it rubbed people the wrong way. And it just became way too much. So, half the server again is begging us to stay on. And it's like, well, is it because they liked our production, or is it because they actually liked us as friends? And then like the other half couldn't care that we left at all. But yeah, so it just became too drama filled. And the kicker for me was when I was at the park with my kids, and my phone is just going off like crazy from like multiple DMs from different people about what's going on and have you heard this drama and this person's being banned and this person's doing this and that. And I was like, I just can't take this anymore. And I messaged the developer and some of our close friends in the game and stuff, and just told them, hey guys, I gotta take a break, man. I'm like, it's to the point where I'm literally at the park with my kids, and you guys are DMing me about this stuff that we took outside of the game, and I just can't take it. Now, there's a million nuances in that, and I know I went on forever, but that's like the 3,000-foot view of it, of the past like probably 140 hours in that game that I've put in the last 2 months. Like, it's just been insane. Yeah.
What would you say is like the craziest thing that happened? If you could pick like one memory from that 140 hours, like what stands out at you for you?
Like a situation in the game.
Yeah.
Um.
If it's something you can share.
No, just I mean, just probably the raids,
Something.
like the fear of breaking into somebody's compound, which is like 5 times guarded with gates, and not knowing if you're going to be ambushed by any of the people there while you're breaking in, because you need to stay by your bombs while they're breaking. They could fail, so you got to rearm them. So you're just organizing stuff. Some raids take days to organize because you got to make sure you got backup on. You got post people on hilltops. You got people up front with you, and close quarters combat with rifles ready to pop if anybody comes out. So some of the raids are probably the most memorable things, and getting into gunfights with them and all that stuff. So yeah, it's crazy.
Was that a new mechanic they added recently? The raids? Because I don't remember. I don't remember us ever doing anything like that back in the day.
No, it's in his build. Yeah, in Hungry's build, you can build bases, which is pretty cool because in your bases you can start storing stuff, a lot like Minecraft or any other thing. So, but because of that, it adds a new element to where now a piece of property has value to you. And in the other game, you're just an adventurer, right? There's tent camps everywhere, and that's all. But now you have a base. You have a base that you need to protect, and you can put up walls and all this stuff. But there's a rule in the server that it has to be penetrable. It has to be broken in. You can't just put like walls all the way around that nobody can get in or anything like that. You have to be able to break into it. So all your stuff is vulnerable, and like you said, it persists the entire time. So it's going to stay on the whole time as well. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I didn't ever play DayZ that much, but it definitely was quite an experience when I did. And I know what you mean. Like, there's such a rush in games like that where there's so many dangers and the stakes are so high, and like every snap of a twig, you're just like on edge. I remember one time we were just like running through
Oh,
this
dude.
abandoned city, like scavenging, and you're like, "Hey, was that a gunshot?" And we're all just like on high alert, like, "Oh God, is there somebody else here?" Like,
Yeah.
and there
That was
was,
the
and
other
we
thing,
had to chase them off. Like, it was crazy.
man, that game gets my heart pumping like my brain can't tell that it's not real. So I genuinely feel threatened whenever like I'll see somebody in the game or whatever, and like my whole fight or flight mechanism tricks on, my heart rate starts going, my palms get a little bit sweaty. There's something about mom spaghetti. And like, yeah, it's just out of control. I do remember a memorable part.
One of your kids comes up behind you, is like, "Daddy," and you're like, "Ah!"
With an axe. Like Smiley.
I've been
So
taken for a zombie.
I do remember a memorable one actually. One of my most memorable memories. One of my most memorable events was like one of the nicest guy on there is like Jujo. He's like everybody's grandpa. Like he's just very caring, takes care of everybody, trusts everybody 100%. Nobody messes with Jujo. Just like the whole server just knows that this guy's just a super nice guy. Let's just leave him alone. Well, somebody killed one of his friends he was playing with. So then Jujo summoned Mark and I, and the whole server, like, they're like, what city was he in? They're like, oh, he was in Starry. So like Mark and I are announcing server wide on radios, like, everybody better get out of Starry. If you're still left in Starry, consider this your pamphlet from the air. You're gonna get killed. And Jujo's like, everybody get out. Nuke's going to Starries. There's gonna be a nuke at Starry. We're like, anybody we see, we're gonna kill. And sure enough, we went in there, just mowed anybody we saw down, and we got one person. That was the only person we saw. We don't know if he was the guy who killed Jujo or not, but we told people, hey, if you're not the guy who killed him, you better get out of there. So could have just been collateral damage.
If I was the guy who killed him, I probably would have got out of there too. But that's just me. I mean,
they told me to stay, so I'm gonna stay.
Yeah. Well, sounds like a wild ride. You'll have to keep us
was.
updated on the podcast in future episodes if you end up deciding to get back into it, or if you put it to bed for good. I feel like DayZ for you is a little bit like Final Fantasy 11 for me, that you're never truly done with it.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's fair to say.
All right, Shy. Let's go to you. What we're already running out of time here.
We're not as low on time, I think, as you think we might be.
Maybe we're not. I don't know what time. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Van, you know a game Smiley and I've been playing a bit of that doesn't have that kind of drama where you could play and not be getting DM'd with random messages about people getting banned when you're hanging out with kids in the park. Oh, how did you know? No. Lost Ark, which we've talked about recently. I don't know how much it's worth really digging into it a ton, except that
I want to know.
Still just playing it.
I have
questions.
I have questions for that game.
Good question for that game.
So give me that game. I think, so I don't know how long it's been since we talked about it, because the last episode was NHL and then Matrix Resurrections, and then we did, I guess it was episode 111 probably. Yeah, you're right, probably a month and a half. So I think something has changed since we last talked about it, at least for me, is that I think what I would consider to be my main character has changed. I think when we talked about it last, I was still playing the Soul Fist character, which is kind of like the monk that does ranged spirit attacks. I guess a lot of people compare him to like a monk wizard or like a Dragon Ball Z kind of character. I got to higher level content where bosses just kind of disappear and move to another place and then move around all the time. And the thing with Soul Fist, especially if you go the one build I was doing with, which was Robust Spirit, is that you start your awakening and then it takes 10 seconds for it to go off. But you place it, you place the area it's going to land, and then you wait 10 seconds as it's charging up and it goes off. So early on, I felt like I was pretty good with it. I was starting to learn boss mechanics. I'd know when they were going to move, when they weren't. But really later on, you just don't know. They have randomized patterns. They'll just they'll do 2 jumps instead of 1 or whatever. And so I just started missing my main source of damage all the time, and it just became very painful. And so they released a new class probably about a month ago now, I think, almost exactly. And called the Glavier, or Lance Masters, which is what it was in Korea. It uses 2 different lances, and I've been enjoying that a lot. And then at about the same time, I started playing the class that you had started, Van, a Shadow Hunter. Mm-hmm. And those, I guess kind of right now my main is the Glavier, but man, I really like Shadow Hunter. That class is so much fun to play, in my opinion. So they're both the ones I've been working on recently. And then there's a big content patch coming out actually tomorrow. 2 days. In 2 days, Thursday.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Tomorrow night, technically. But
yeah. So, my question is: typically in games like this and MMOs, there's dailies, there's weeklies, there's monthlies, there's dungeon progression, and all that fun stuff. What I find in a lot of the games recently is that a lot of those things don't mean anything. They don't feel like they have impact. They don't have much meaning or anything like that. What keeps you going back to the game post max level that's exciting, that's doing it for you, that's meaningful, impactful, or anything like that? Or is it literally just checking boxes to do a completion, to get the dailies done and to get those things done, even though it doesn't really accomplish anything grand?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is a question for both of us. And I think
sure.
we'll both
I'm going to answer it whether you want me to or not.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
I would say there's a little bit of both. I do like checklists in games. I like dailies. I like doing things. So there's that aspect, right? There's that kind of stuff that you just kind of track every week. I have really had a lot of fun with the game, and the more and more I play it, the more and more I feel like this is kind of when I'd seen clips of the game years ago when it was just launching in Korea, I was like, that game looks like a lot of fun, and kind of like a game I've been waiting for a long time, kind of Diablo MMO, but with an Asian fantasy aesthetic. And that's what it feels like to me. I really enjoy the game. I think it's just fun, and it's interesting because you're right. There is that whole it has a sense of that eye level progression that we have really come to hate in modern MMOs, where it's just get the next set of gear, whatever. But I think what's different, it has some mechanics that really I think set it apart from let's say Final Fantasy 14, where literally a Final Fantasy 14, literally all you're doing is getting the next eye level gear. You raid, new raid comes out, you're just getting, it's just flat stats, right? There's nothing exciting about it. In this game, the fact that the engravings, the tripods for your skills, and these are things that we probably don't have time to really dig into. We've talked a little bit about them in the past, but some of that's tied to your gear. And so let's say the content that's coming out on Thursday, like they're going to add a new raid where we'll be able to start getting, they're called relic sets, which is a new like level of rarity. And so not only is it's an eye level increase or whatever, but like, and they're pretty rare drops, but when you get them, you're going to get higher engraving numbers on them, and that will make it easier to like have like 4 level 3 engravings versus 3, which like allows you to then customize your character more and have like, you know, focus a different direction. Like, so I guess ultimately it just feels, I think, in my opinion, Final Fantasy XIV is like a really well balanced game. I wouldn't say the same thing about Lost Ark. Like, I think it's balanced, but I think the emphasis on Lost Ark is more about fun than balance. And I think
maybe the word you're looking for is even maybe more than balance is formulaic. Like
yeah.
Final Fantasy XIV is a very repeatable pattern of like, if you've, in my opinion, right? It's when a new content comes out, you kind of like, what sets it apart is the story and like places, but like, you know what you're gonna do, you know the steps you're gonna take. You kind of, you know, the mechanics are different, but the rewards are kind of, like you said, +1. Whereas I think Lost Ark is a lot more varied than that and gives a lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was just talking to Sarah about this the other day, when I was bemoaning how long, because I stayed up till like 1 in the morning doing freaking dailies and stuff on Lost Ark. And not just dailies, but just there's so much to do, and a lot of it is kind of daily stuff. But what I'll say to answer your original question is like, what sets it apart, and like, why do I enjoy like doing this daily stuff and doing all these tasks, is I think there's 2 components to it. One is that there's such a variety. Like, I'm not just I shouldn't say this because you do kind of run the same 2 dungeons every day, but like they only take like 5 minutes, so it's not the same. But it's like in Final Fantasy 14, like your dailies where you would run this 20-minute dungeon, and then you'd run this other 20-minute dungeon, and you'd get you'd get a couple tokens that you would then, go towards your gear set and whatever, right? In Lost Ark, like your dailies are actually like there's like a million different things. It's like you've got chaos dungeons, you've got guardian raids, you've got your rapport stuff, you've got Una's tasks. There's like 100. Well, what is it? It's probably, I don't know, what do you think, like 70 different Una's tasks, somewhere in
Like
that
different
range.
reputations you can work
Yeah,
on and like
yeah,
things you can shoot for
and and the thing about it to me is that like, and Shy kind of got to this, is I care about the rewards. The rewards are meaningful, and like when I get some of the, is like I do these things, I prioritize what I want to do because like I see something I want, and when I get it, it
Mm.
makes my character better, and I'm excited. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, like I'm gonna have to do this daily next 21 goddamn days, but then I'm gonna have this freaking rune that I can put on my gear that's gonna change my build and make my character like not just like better because it's 20 more dexterity or 20 more strength, but like noticeably, like I can skill faster, like my gauge fills up noticeably quicker. Now, like what I've been working on my character is trying to get the runes that allow me to fully fill my 3 orbs in like 1 rotation.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of the gold standard against bosses, is that like you don't, like right now it's like my full rotation gets me like, depending how well I hit and whether he dodges or whether I mistime it, it's like 85 to 100% full. But if I can get a couple more of these items, I can do it in 1 full rotation, or even like to the point where if the boss dodges, like Shy said, if it takes a
Yeah.
funny jump and I miss a skill, I might still be able to get a full orb set with my current rotation. Like that's exciting. Like it changes the way you play. It makes you feel like your character is getting more powerful. And secondarily, it's with the way that the gear grinds goes. Like it's not like in 14, like you just bought the next set of eye level gear, and like you just kind of had to have it, but it didn't really feel that noticeably different because of the way the game is structured, that like there's different areas, there's different places that have different item levels. Like you're not always just in the highest level zone and you don't care about anything else. You're constantly going back for various reasons to other islands, previous areas. And when you go back to places that are a lower item level, like you just kick stuff's ass. and it feels good. It feels like, hey, I remember when this boss took forever for me to kill, and now I use one ability and it's like, boom, you're gone. And like, that's a cool feeling. Like, it feels like you've progressed your character. Um, and when you're leveling your gear, like, it's not like you're saving. I don't know. I feel like I'm misrepresenting a little. Shy, you can keep me in check here. But like, where I am at right now with my gear grind is like, every day when I do my dailies to get materials, that means I get another opportunity to upgrade my gear like that day. It's like, I want to do the dailies because I want those materials because they give me a chance to increase my gear versus just like saving up where it's like, I'm going to do
Right.
dailies for a month and then I'll be able to buy a new armor set. Like,
Right.
it's just a little, like, whatever it is about the difference in it, it's very engaging. And um it it's like, what I was telling Sarah the other day is that like, the dailies are like exhausting. Like, the content, like all the stuff I want to do and that I feel like I have to
Yeah.
do in a day. It's exhausting because there's so much of it and I feel like, oh my God. But I want to, like, it doesn't feel like a chore. And like, that's the magic of it. It's like, how do all these chores not even feel like chores? Because I'm like, they're fun to do. Like, to Shai's point, the game is fun to play. So that's my answer to that. Is like, you knew if it was like 14, if it was that 14 paradigm, like, I wouldn't still be playing it.
Yeah.
Like like what I was saying with like the engravings and the tripods and the gems, like, there's so many ways to like, not just customize your character, but like enhance your, like, the stuff you get is cool and it makes it's like, oh, like, I want to try this, I want to try that. Like, this piece
Yeah.
of gear changes how I could play. Like, maybe I play a little differently. And like, that's what's very engaging to me.
You have
Always
gear
has been.
set bonuses. You can focus on like when you start doing any game content, you can invest in like crit damage or crit rate or what, you know what I mean. Like, there's just like stuff that like 14 never handled. I think my final thought of just like one thing that still, and I did mention this last time, is just the idea that the game, especially end game, focuses more on like knowing mechanics and like responsible play versus like hitting an optimal DPS rotation. Like, there's an MVP screen at the end. There's, I mean, there you can get rewarded or whatever if you do better. Like, not tangibly, but like in front of the people you're playing with. But like, if you're dead, like from what we've done, the enrage timers on fights are very forgiving if people are playing responsibly and not just ignoring mechanics. And I just think that's cool. I think that's like so counter to like the way 14 played, and a lot of what I think frustrated us about 14, where like you felt pressed to be like constantly hitting your perfect rotation, and if we didn't, if we'd like hit a DPS check, we'd wipe, and it's like, we try our 15th time that night to like, how can we eke out a little more DPS? And like, we've not, I mean, the game's been out for 3 months now, a little over 3 months, but who knows, but like where it's going to go. But we definitely haven't hit that wall yet, which is, I think, pretty cool.
Sorry to go on about this, but I do think that's a great point. And something that I would say is, I saw a thread on Reddit that, because I've been thinking about this when we talked about this a while back. So I was like, why? Like, there are some differences between 14, the rating in 14 and the rating here. It is a lot more forgiving. It's not like make one mistake and everybody wipes. There's times where if you make a mistake, everybody wipes, but it's not like everything, which is how kind of Coil was. But I was like, what's really different about this? Like, why do I not kind of have the same kind of to the rating here? Because it's not that different. And I saw somebody post something on Reddit that said, hey, like, I just don't know if this game's for me because I can't do the boss mechanics. I go into these dungeons and I'm constantly getting killed. I'm constantly holding the team back. And like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And somebody said, well, like, here's maybe something you might be doing wrong is that like, people come from other MMOs and they think they have to be constantly attacking, constantly doing their rotations, as Shai was talking about. But this game isn't like this. In this game, you have to recognize that like, you have an attack round and your opponent has an attack round. And like, you have to respect that. And like, you can't always just be like heads on offense. Like, you have to pay attention and like attack at the right time, wait for your opportunity, dodge the mechanic, do the mechanic, and then strike. And I was like, I wonder if that's what it is that really makes me like this more, is it is more tactical. Like, you can just go in there and spam your skills, but on the harder dungeons, you're going to get your ass kicked a lot of times. Whereas having that like pausing, looking for the tells, like letting him do his move and then moving in and doing damage, like that feels like you have a lot more control. And I think that's that's something that I've really enjoyed. And once somebody pointed out, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true and so cool. So there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That was one question. You have other questions, man? We could give
question.
another we give another 8-minute answer
at all.
We've got another couple minutes, you know. If you have any other questions, obviously we'd like to talk about them. But yeah, I was going to take a section on Lost Ark. Obviously, I feel like I already have, so I'm going to skip that. But I'm definitely enjoying it as well. It's been great to have finally caught up to Shy and Z and Orius on my main characters, so that I can kind of do stuff with them, and a lot of that multiplayer stuff has been really rewarding, I feel like. So yeah, that's how much time do we got? 10? Okay. I am going to throw it back to Van for what else you're playing. Well,
you
I just did like
you
10
just
minute
answered my
diet
question
for 10 minutes. Are you sure?
You never get
jump another game.
We went super long last week. Didn't give you a chance to talk.
Yep.
All right, that's good. I want to go off on this one. Because I'm powered up. This is why I was really excited.
So I'm back playing Minecraft.
Love Minecraft. We can talk about that all day. We'll do a whole podcast. Next week, Minecraft podcast. All right, we're good.
Done.
Okay, so I picked up about a week ago. I finished. I'd been playing Legend of Mana as my Switch game. So I've got like Lost Ark time at night, and I've got like sometimes I was playing games during the day, like if Sam was sleeping or if he was like doing his own thing. Like sometimes I'd be able to fit in a little bit of time on my PS5 or my Switch, and so I was finishing my playthrough of Legend of Mana, and I beat that. I was like, okay, I'm done with that. I wanted to get that done. I didn't want to buy any new games until I finished that game. I finished it, saw the ending for the first time in my life. It was awesome. Decided, you know what? I'm going to get Switch Sports. I wasn't super excited about it, but I was like, it seems like they're going to be supporting it for a while. They're adding additional games. If they built this infrastructure, I could see this kind of being a long-term thing where they continually add like DLCs and stuff. And like, I wasn't super excited about most of the sports that are there, but I was like, I'll try it out. It could be fun. It'll be a fun game to play with the kid, as Sam gets older. We'll, the bowling and stuff like that. That's always a hit. So I'm just going to get it. I'm just going to maximize my investment. I'm going to purchase it. So I got it. I played it the first night. I thought it was cool. And then between hockey and Lost Ark and being a dad, and obviously Switch Sports, not a game that really works at all when my kids are around, just because it's all online multiplayer. You can't pause it. Like so now it conflicts with my Lost Ark time. So now it's like at night I have to, and my Avalanche time starting again tonight. So I was like, now when I have an hour to 2 hours to play games, I get to choose between Lost Ark, Switch Sports, and hockey. So rough times for me, right? So I bought it like a week ago. I didn't play it for like 5 freaking days because between the hockey and I've really been into Lost Ark. But last night there was no hockey on at all. There were no games, no game 7s for the first time in like a weekend. I wrapped up my Lost Ark stuff pretty early, and I was like, I'm going to give some Switch Sports some time. I'm going to really give it a chance to grow on me. And it's really good, guys. Like it's pretty odd. Like the soccer is exhilarating. It is so fun. And something about playing online with random opponents and teammates. Like it's not I think you can play like a single player mode like against bots, but like playing the multiplayer against real people and just like the competition, like it just feels like soccer. Like you control your character, you like use your like you swing to like kick, and like how you swing your Switch remote like determines where you kick it. So like if I go like this, my guy kind of like kicks horizontally. If I kind of go up, I do like a lob kick, I pop it into the air. If I do like an overhead, like he just kind of like keeps it low to the ground. Like it's amazing. It's actually, I couldn't stop playing it last night. I was supposed to go to bed last night early. That's why I stopped my Lost Ark stuff early. I was like, I'm just gonna play Switch Sports for a little bit. And I stayed up again till like 1 o'clock in the morning playing freaking soccer. But like I couldn't stop playing it. Like it was that good. There's a number of other games. I thought the bowling was actually pretty cool. It's like a bowling battle royale where instead of head to head, it's like there's like 16 players and you bowl the first 3 frames, and then the top 8 get to continue, and the rest it's cool. Fun. And then then you do 3 more frames in the top 5, and like that's cool. It's fun. Like I liked it, and like it kind of sucks too because like as you go up, people get, especially with like a switch bowling or like Wii bowling, it's like if you learn how to do it just right, it's a little bit easier. But I guess it's no different from real bowling. Like people who really bowl, they know how to do it just right and they get a strike every time, right? But it seems like on this, like some like one of the game that the first game I played, I finished fourth, which I was proud of. But the dude who finished first had like 287 pin, and I was like with like 150, and I was like I did really good, but like I didn't do that good. But that's fun. The sport I thought would be most interesting in was the sword fighting. You know, they got the
The fencing.
chambara, the fencing,
Yeah.
and like that is a hit or miss for me. I feel like it doesn't always feel like it has the best fidelity, and I don't know. Like I think sometimes it's maybe about the latency between the person I'm playing with is maybe coming
Mm.
into play, because there's been some games where it's like I try and do something and either I don't respond or I'm delayed, and like that's a death sentence. But in games that it hasn't been like that, it is very exhilarating. And like I'll tell you what, there's really nothing better than beating somebody in a sword fight. Like that is a rush when you freaking outduel somebody and knock them off the pad, and you're like, "What up? I just outdueled you, son!" Like, oh, it's a rush. It's awesome. So overall, Switch Sports is very, very cool. I like it a lot so far. I'm sad that like there's
I'll
not a
pick it up
chance.
tonight.
If you pick it up, we need to play some soccer together because I
Yeah.
think that shit is going to be legit.
I'll pick it up because like I could just imagine the kids
I was,
playing badminton or
oh,
tennis or anything. Like, yeah,
yeah, the bowling.
they'll get a kick out of it. Yep.
I think they will. I think they will for sure. But yeah, it has my. I wasn't sure about it. I'd heard kind of mixed things from some of the reviews I read, but I really I was into it. I it's it's got kind of a cool, you know, gameplay loop, and it's nice. You do get rewards for winning, but like it's not super like you still like basically for playing through the game, you get like 80% of the rewards and you get a little bonus for being on the winning side. So the winning's more about your personal rank and your like the thrill of victory. But like even if you're not that great at it, you can still progress as far as like earning the cosmetics and stuff, which I think I'm all right with that. For somebody who's not that good, it's probably beneficial to me. All right, that's what I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to Switch Sports. I don't know. We have like a couple minutes. Anybody want to do any quick hits on anything else they're playing?
I picked up the
Minecraft.
Stanley Parable.
Oh yeah,
Have you guys heard of that Stanley Parable? I feel like
I've,
it's been around
I've
forever.
heard of
Heard
it.
of it.
Yeah,
But apparently they released this new one called Stanley Parable Deluxe. I just picked it up because I never played it. And the reviews so far are very positive, but very vague. And I'm assuming that's intentional due to the nature of the game, though,
yeah.
because they're like, "Hey, this game is great, but if we told you anything about it, it would ruin the magic."
Yeah,
So it's
like
just
a
something that I'm
mystery.
at to experience for my
A
own.
mystery thing. Yeah, I
It's a
guess.
very mystery thing. Yeah, you wake up by yourself in an office, and that's basically all you know. And you just start looking around, and certain things start happening to you, and they seem random, and they make you question whether or not free will exactly exists, or whether you're playing this game naturally, or if you're actually just playing the way you were programmed to play. And it's starting to get pretty interesting. So I'll have a fresh update on that next time we do something.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what you could tell us that's
Yeah,
not without spoiling, or if you're going to
sure.
be like, "I love this game, guys," but guess what? I can't actually tell you anything about it
Yeah,
without.
and that might be the case. So we'll see.
That was something I thought was kind of cool with Undertale that it did. Like, there's a lot of like meta
Mm.
stuff in Undertale that I liked, where it's like if you like, like I remember the first time I played through, like I got to a boss that like I don't feel like I did right, so I like reset and tried again, and the game like called me out on it and was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
think you're just gonna try this again, huh? You couldn't get it right the first time, could you?" And I was like, "Damn, like that's wacky. That was messing with my mind. Like,
yeah,
game's not
yeah.
supposed to know I'm playing the game. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
uh,
far there's pretty similar feelings with this.
hmm.
Wasn't there a boss fight in one of the Metal Gear, like the original Metal Gear Solid, that was kind of like that, where like it was like guy used like EMPs or sabotage, and it like actually messed with like the PlayStation like display or something, or like wasn't there something like that, or your controller wasn't
Yes.
working exactly perfectly or
Right.
something, and like
I know there. I know
yeah.
that. I think it was Psycho Mantis.
I know
But like,
Psycho Mantis.
because like you like the trick was like if you plugged it into the spoiler alert, if you took your controller out and plugged it into the second player slot,
Yeah,
it would still control, but he couldn't affect you anymore because like he couldn't like jack into you the same way, which
yeah,
is super clever. super clever stuff.
I never played those games, but there just seemed like so many cool ideas from that series.
I loved Metal Gear Solid 2.
A disc not in the drive, if you will.
Yeah, there you have it. Hey, Shai, do you have anything you want to talk about? You still playing War of the Visions?
Yeah, I don't know. Next time we do disc in the drive, I'll probably have more to say about gacha games or whatever.
As always, we each got to like one thing on our list.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of stuff that I was going to talk about, but an hour's just not long enough. Once this the week thing, man.
Question of the day, man. NHL question of the day just eats up a third of the podcast.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, there's supposed to be what jersey are you gonna buy? Like that's all it's supposed to be. It's supposed to take like 2 seconds. All right, guys. Any final thoughts before we spiel this out?
Nope.
All right. Well, if you would like to tell us about what discs are in your drive or what discs you'd like to hear more about from our drives, we can be reached in a lot of different places. On Twitter at Focus Target, our YouTube channel at Focus Target Podcast has all of our previous history and other videos, side projects we've done. We are streaming live on twitch.tv/Focus Target Podcast. And of course, we have an email address, focustargetpodcast@gmail.com. So thanks for being with us for episode 114 of the Focus Target Podcast. I am your host, Captain Smiley.
This is Shai.
I'm Van. As always, cover us, Porkins. We're out.
Go Abs.